Hello, and welcome to Overlooked Headlines. We're the podcast designed to share headlines from America and around the world that have been disregarded or overlooked, but are critical to our lives and well-being. It's our mission to inform with the headlines and then inspire through biblical words, which we call His Lines, that once heard and applied will help to strengthen our faith in God as we navigate this journey called life. Now, here's the host of Overlooked Headlines, Jeff Bass.
Welcome to Overlooked Headlines, where we go beyond the noise and into the truth with headlines others ignore. I'm Jeff Bass, and let's get started. Our first headline: public schools are failing and parents are bailing. Now, last week we shared a headline entitled 1 in 8 American students unable to understand basic math. Well, today we have another interesting school article follow-up. It's called Public Schools Are Failing and Parents Are Bailing. You see, students attending American public schools are struggling. Test scores from 2024 National Assessment of Educational Progress, known as NAEP, released this year, indicate that 33% of 8th graders, a greater percentage than ever before, are reading at the below basic level. Additionally, only 22% of high school seniors are proficient or above in math, down from 24% in 2019, and only 35% are proficient in reading, the lowest score since NAEP began in 1969, down from 37% in 2019. Also, a record high percentage scored at below basic levels in both math and reading compared to all previous assessments. In Chicago, public school enrollment has decreased significantly over the past 15 years. For the 2025-26 school year, the New York City Department of Education discloses a 2.3% decrease from the previous year and a nearly 10% drop since 2020. The data also show that 112 of the city's public schools have fewer than 150 students, up from 80 schools just 2 years ago. As government-run schools are shrinking, private schools are expanding substantially. This year, private school charge participation hit 1.3 million students. Let's go to Florida. They educate over 500,000 students through its universal voucher and scholarship programs. Utah Fits All Scholarship launched in 2024 with about 10,000 seats and was immediately oversubscribed. And Iowa's Students First Educational Savings Account program enrolled nearly 28,000 students in its second year, surpassing projections. Additionally, many parents have chosen to homeschool. In fact, homeschooling has reached an all-time high. Notably, 36% of reporting states recorded their highest homeschool enrollment numbers ever, exceeding even the peaks reached during the pandemic. It's not just parents who are dissatisfied with public schools. Only 26% of teachers believe K-12 education is heading in the right direction nationwide. So, in Wyoming, lawmakers launched the state's first K-12 education savings account, the ESA program, last year, beginning with the 2025-26 school year. Now, the $7,000 accounts can be used for private school tuition, tutors, homeschooling, or other education-related expenses. Nearly 4,000 students applied for them this fall. In conclusion, there is a turf war happening. Parents, whose primary concern is their children's education, are battling the establishment, particularly the teachers' unions, whose aim is to protect their profits and maintain their toxic influence over K-12 education. We'll continue to watch this headline. Next, UN campaign aims to enroll 50 countries in digital ID initiative by 2028. In a move critics are calling an unprecedented consolidation of digital power, a UN initiative is accelerating plans to enroll 50 nations in a global digital identity system by 2028. Dubbed the 50 and 5 campaign, the effort has already secured commitments from at least 30 countries since its launch in late 2023, signaling a rapid top-down transformation of how citizens across the world will prove who they are. Now, this push runs parallel to the EU's own mandate for a digital wallet for all member states by 2025. However, it has raised alarm among civil liberties advocates who see the fingerprints of a new global architecture for potential surveillance and control. Digital ID systems are electronic versions of physical identification documents stored on a smartphone. Proponents argue, though, they streamline access to services and foster financial inclusion. But the core technology allows for the centralized collection of vast amounts of personal data, including biometrics like fingerprints and facial scans. This creates a comprehensive digital footprint of an individual's activities, a feature that fuels the fears of those who distrust the intentions of global elites and centralized institutions. Now, the rollout is a present-day reality unfolding at a breakneck pace. A common pattern is emerging. What begins as a voluntary convenience is fast becoming a mandatory requirement for participation in modern society. In India, the digital ID is now indispensable for over 1 billion citizens, required for actions from opening a bank account to enrolling a child in school. Similarly, Ethiopia is aggressively rolling out its FADA ID for all 90 million citizens by 2027, making it compulsory for accessing bank accounts and public services. In countries without a history of robust national ID systems, digital ID is being introduced post-haste. Nigeria's NIN and Kenya's Maisha Namba are prime examples. Reports indicate that Nigeria has subtly reduced the amount of physical cash in circulation to pressure its population into obtaining this digital ID to use card-based payments. Even tech giant Apple has launched a digital ID feature for its wallet app in the US, allowing users to create an identity using their US passport data. A digital ID is presented as necessary for the authorities to have a mechanism to control and seize private assets during a declared national emergency. The justification given would be that your money in your bank accounts will be used to save America. Therefore, from this perspective, it is framed as a tool of state control, making it seem mandatory for that purpose. The campaign is also being exported. Zambia, for instance, is now receiving direct help from Ethiopia to build its own system, suggesting a templated approach to digital governance is being disseminated globally. The global march toward digital identity represents a fundamental reordering of the relationship between the citizen and the state. Framed as a tool for progress, its rapid compulsory rollout and integration with every facet of daily life paints a darker picture for its skeptics. As this infrastructure solidifies, the world is racing toward a future where the right to participate in society is no longer an inherent birthright, but a permission stored digitally. Let us know your thoughts on this headline. Now, right here, let me stop for a second and thank you for all your continued support of Overlooked Headlines. Stay connected with us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Follow us on Instagram, leave your comments, and share. If you like the content we provide, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link on the Overlooked Headlines Instagram profile. By doing so, this helps us to provide more content. Stay where you are. I've got more Overlooked Headlines.
Still to come, our top headline. And don't miss his lines right here on Overlooked Headlines.
Here's our top headline. Why are girls turning away from marriage? Every once in a while, a statistic bursts through the noise and reveals something tectonic, something that tells us our culture is shifting beneath our feet. The latest Pew Research University of Michigan survey does exactly that. Now, for the first time since this question has been tracked, 12th grade girls are less likely to say they want to get married than 12th grade boys. Let that sink in. 61% of senior girls say they hope to marry someday. For boys, the number is 74%. 32 years ago, the numbers were flipped. Girls overwhelmingly desired marriage more than boys. Now, they are the more hesitant sex. This has never happened before in modern American life. And while some pundits laughed it off, the truth is far more disturbing, far more complex, and far more revealing about the world our daughters are inheriting. Let's start with the obvious. Pornography has rewired how boys see girls and how girls see themselves. Girls today grow up watching boys scroll through images and videos depicting violent, degrading, and dehumanizing acts against women. They see how boys joke about it. They see how normal it has become. And they hear the whispers that these are the expectations for real relationships. Young women aren't simply disenchanted, they are afraid. Afraid of boys shaped by porn and afraid of becoming someone else's object. Thus, some girls avoid dating altogether. Others attempt to escape femininity entirely, gravitating toward non-binary identities as a shield against male desire. It's a quiet exodus no one wants to talk about, but every teacher, pastor, and counselor sees it happening. And then we wonder why girls aren't dreaming about marriage. But pornography is only one crack in the foundation. First, they don't trust men to stay. Many girls have watched marriages collapse like tents in a stiff wind. They've watched fathers leave, boyfriends cheat, families fracture. They've learned far too young that fathers can disappear, promises can crumble, and love can be conditional. For a generation raised amid instability, marriage doesn't symbolize commitment. It symbolizes risk. The cultural message they absorb is chillingly simple. Don't count on anyone but yourself. Secondly, they don't trust that marriage will bless them. Young women today are ambitious, they're hardworking, and academically outperforming boys. But that very success comes with a shadow. They fear that marriage will derail their goals, that they will be saddled with responsibility while their male peers drift. They see a retreating male workforce, the men who don't graduate, don't work, don't lead, don't rise. They see stats showing many women now out-earning their partners. And so they quietly wonder, will I end up carrying more than my share? For many girls, marriage feels like a partnership, like less like a partnership and more like another burden to manage. Thirdly, they are buckling under the weight of anxiety. We are witnessing the most anxious generation of teenage girls ever recorded. Depression, loneliness, and self-harm numbers are skyrocketing. And in that climate, marriage feels overwhelming. How do you picture a joyful future when you're fighting just to stay afloat? How do you plan for love when you're drowning in fear? Girls aren't rejecting marriage because they despise it. They're rejecting marriage because they can't envision healing. This crisis is not actually about girls losing faith in marriage. It's about a society that has made healthy marriage nearly impossible to imagine. We have normalized pornography. We've mocked masculinity, fragmented the family, left girls unprotected, left boys undisciplined, turned relationships into commodities, and replaced covenant with convenience. And now we act surprised when girls say they don't want the version of marriage we've modeled for them. Despite all this, many girls still long for real love. They want emotional safety, spiritual unity, and lifelong companionship. They want a man who honors them, protects them, and stands with them. They just don't believe in this culture that such a man is likely to appear. The burden is now on us. That's right, parents, churches, teachers, mentors, to show them something better, such as men who reject porn and choose purity in marriages built on faithfulness, sacrifice, and joy. Christian communities where boys learn to become honorable men. Cultural spaces where girls feel safe, valued, and cherished. Because the truth is simple. Girls aren't turning away from marriage. They're turning away from a culture that has failed to prepare men for marriage. And until we rebuild what has been broken, the trend will not reverse. but it can and it must. For the sake of the next generation and for the hope of every young woman waiting to believe again that marriage is still worth dreaming about. Let us know what you think about this headline. Don't move. His lines are coming up.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode, then we'll think you'll love connecting with us on our social media platforms as well, because we post frequent news bites, tips, and alerts to keep you informed and inspired. Now, let's get back to more overlooked headlines with Jeff Bass.
Now, it's time for his lines, where we take a closer look at these headlines from a biblical perspective taken from the Bible, God's Word. We live in a generation where marriage is being redefined, redesigned, and in many ways dismissed. Culture, rather, treats marriage like a contract you can cancel, while God treats it as a covenant you are called to honor. The world celebrates temporary pleasure. God calls us to eternal purpose. And because marriage sits at the center of God's design for families, faith, and future generations, the battle over its meaning has never been more intense. Understanding the difference between the world's view and God's view is not optional. It's essential for anyone who desires to build a life that lasts. Therefore, let's look at two major keys regarding the eternal importance of marriage. First key, culture confuses, but God clarifies. Culture often celebrates self over sacrifice. It encourages personal fulfillment over covenant commitment. The worldview suggests marriage should make you happy, while God teaches that marriage makes you holy. Where the world says, follow your heart, God says, guard your heart. Where the world says, if it gets hard, leave, God says, if it gets hard, lean on me and love deeper. God clarifies marriage as a sacred union between one man and one woman. Genesis 2:24 says, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Also, he clarifies the roles, not for domination, but for divine order. And he clarifies that marriage is meant to reflect God's covenant love, not the world's unstable emotions. And secondly, commitment creates what culture can't. A covenant level commitment creates security, because God designed marriage to be a safe place, not an unstable place. It creates stability because families thrive where commitment is strong, and strength because when two become one, they create a spiritual force that the enemy fears. Marriage is not just about two people, it's two destinies joining, two purposes intertwining, and two callings aligning for God's glory. In conclusion, marriage is not a product of culture, it's a masterpiece of God, the Creator. While the world tries to redefine it, God has already designed it, blessed it, and assigned it purpose. If we learn to see marriage through God's eyes, we will begin to live out what He intended from the beginning: unity, strength, blessing, and purpose that no culture can cancel. That's his lines. For Overlooked Headlines, I'm Jeff Bass, keeping you informed and inspired. Now, as we leave, check out the names of those who have generously supported Overlooked Headlines. We say thank you and bless you.